The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." He replied, "What do you wish me to do for you?" They answered, "Grant that in your glory we may sit one at the right and the other at the left." Jesus said to him, "You do not know what you are asking. Can you drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism in which I am baptized?" They said to him, "We can." Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink, you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized, you will be baptized. But to sit at my right or my left is not mine to give, but is for those for whom it has been prepared." When the 10 heard this, they became indignant at James and John. Jesus summoned them and said to them, "You know, those who are recognized as rulers over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones make their authority over them felt. But it shall not be so among you. Rather, whoever wishes to be great among you will be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you will be the slave of all. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as ransom for many." The Gospel of the Lord.
When I go on vacation, especially home to my family, to Philly, sometimes I like to go incognito. Always in public, I have my collar. Normally on airplanes, I have my collar in airports because you never know, when someone wants confession or wants to talk or prayer. But I have to be honest, sometimes on vacation when I go home, I just want to be incognito. I'm like, okay, I don't want to get any debates. Sometimes when you see a collar, a debate happens, and they want to talk about whatever's, So like, okay, maybe it's just a couple days without that. So we're at the end of vacation at the Jersey Shore, at CIL City. And I just did Mass for the family in our beach home. It was easier for the schedule for my sisters and stuff. So, but I still had to do my holy hour. I always try to do an hour a day with the Lord. But I can only do that during the time of Mass was happening at the local church there. So, okay, well, I go to the back of the church, the last row of the church, and I don't like wearing shorts in church, but it's the beach, and I was just doing a holy hour, and it was nice shorts, but still it was shorts. I was wearing that, and when it comes time for the collection, one of the older ushers turns to me and says, "Sir, would you like to help with the collection?" Okay, sure, yes, I'll do that. So we're going, just go to the right side. They're easy, and they have the old time, baskets that are, they have the pole, with the basket. So you go to the front, and you kind of shake it in front of them. Are you going to give? Okay, go to next row. Eye contact. They're not looking at you, and so. I hate doing that. That's why we just have the basket pass. We don't have the pole. Anyway. And then, not only I had to do that once, but this is July. This is like big time, for the church. So they have a second collection called Christmas in July, and so now we have to go back down again, and so I'm going, and now there's no eye contact with me. Maybe two people put something in the basket, and we're kind of like, okay, yeah. So it was only like God's sense of humor. Be like, okay, you're going to be unnoticed? Yeah, I'm going to put you in this spot. So I actually told the pastor afterwards, so he had me take a picture like that. So it actually did happen. See, yeah, well, anyway, so, okay. Yeah, I admit it. Sometimes I can be a little selfish, or I don't want to be on duty, always a priest, always on duty as a priest, but yeah. But who never tired of serving was Jesus. And he is the example for us. He gave his whole life for us. And so we're hearing that in the scriptures today. But before I get to that as well, one theme that we like in movies and stories is when the person who is like the king and the queen, the prince, the princess, or whoever, the undercover boss, when they actually are doing the things that everybody else is doing, and so they experience that. We love those stories. So I'm not sure if you ever watched this movie of Roman Holiday. A great movie if you get a chance. It still holds up today. Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn. And about, I think she was a queen or a princess, but in either case, she goes incognito there, so it won't ruin the story. But we love those stories. Or Mark Twain, the prince and the pauper, right? And them exchanging places so the prince can experience what everybody's experiencing. We love those stories. Why do we love those stories? I think, really, because it points back to him. That God himself took on our humanity, became incognito, so to speak, so he could walk among us, teach us, love us, suffer for us, die, and rise again. And as we hear in the second reading, we have a high priest who has experienced everything we experience but sin. So he never sinned. He can sympathize with our weaknesses. We love that type of leader, even today. However, we can be tempted, like James and John were, and the 10, to take a look at things through the eyes of the world, not through the eyes of God. And even positions of power, authority, or influence. And so, James and John come up to Jesus, come up to God himself, and say, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you. Now that sounds arrogant, and it is on one hand, but isn't that what we do with God at times, in our prayer? God, I want you to do what I'm asking. And if you work that out, so I'll be good, we'll be good, I'll be better, I'll put some money in the basket, we'll be good. All right? We can be like that as well at times, all of us. So James and John, they have this question. Jesus is trying to be patient with them. So, okay, well, what do you want? We want to sit at your right and at your left when you come in your glory. So we want that authority. The right and the left. And Jesus says, you don't know what you're asking. You don't know what you're asking because where is the throne of Jesus on earth? I mean, right now it's the tabernacle, but back then, where's the throne of Jesus on earth? Here's his throne of God himself. And who is on his right and his left? It was those crucified on his right and on his left, the thieves. So in essence, James and John are asking for that, even though they don't realize it. And then 10 became indignant, and because they didn't realize it either. Hey, we want to be in that authority too. Okay, you want to be my disciples? This is how it's going to look like at a certain time. Do you still want to serve me? We should, even when it's going to look like that at times. That is true service. Who is the most respected person, would you say, of the 20th century? Who comes to your mind as all different nationalities, religions, all different peoples, who is the most respected by most people in the 20th century? Who comes to your mind? I'm kind of afraid to put this out loud, but let's see if I can hear the name. Who would you say is most respected? Exactly. Oh, sorry. Yes. Mother Teresa. Yeah. Mother Teresa was the most, I would say, respected of, you could make an argument for Pope John Paul II, but I would say Mother Teresa, out of all nationalities and peoples, was the most respected. Why? Because of her love for God, her love for the poor, because of her service to the poor. She was willing to get her hands dirty, to go into those difficult situations with those who had no money, those who had no power, those who had no influence, and she was willing to serve them and to give them dignity for their life, even though other people didn't recognize their dignity, even if it's just for a few hours, to clean them up and to serve them. But even she was tempted. You know, she would receive different accolades and awards, and she would travel from place to place, and people would recognize her, the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, the most recognizable person, really, 20th century. And what was the first thing she would do when she would get on a plane? The story is, at times, the first thing she would do when she would get on a plane is to go to the restroom there, the bathroom on the plane, and she would clean the toilet. She would do the thing that, the most menial thing to do on that plane, and she went right there and cleaned the toilet because she was reminding herself that, hey, when all these accolades, I'm just a servant of the Lord. I'm going to serve whatever I can do to serve the people in this plane, and that's to clean the toilet. Because maybe nobody, even the flight attendants, maybe they don't want to do it either, so I'll do it. Are we willing to do the smallest thing and most menial thing for the sake of others? Because we love others and we love God. That's service. That's love. As Jesus says, don't be like Gentiles, the great ones who make their authority over them felt. It shall not be so among you. Don't be like that. When you see the example in government, in Hollywood, in society, when you see people using their power, their authority, their money, not for good, but for their own glory, don't be like that. That's not true service. That's not true leadership. True leadership is this: giving one's life for the other, serving the other, even when it costs us. In the first reading that we heard, the first sentence, the Lord was pleased to crush him in infirmity. That sounds mean. That sounds, what's that mean? The Lord was pleased to crush him in infirmity. Here's a principle always to follow in Scripture. When something sounds wrong, or in a Catholic Church teaching, when something sounds wrong, it probably is, or our interpretation of it. So what's that mean when he says he's pleased to crush him in infirmity? It's a Hebrew idiom. The whole reading here, it means that the Lord was pleased that his Son took on our suffering, our guilt, our sin upon himself on the cross. He was pleased that his Son was able to serve everybody. That's true service. That's true leadership. Let's look for that leadership and service in our leaders in all walks of life. Let's stop looking to the world on how to live. But let's keep on looking at him and Mother Mary. Mary, the Queen of heaven and earth, the most exalted of all pure human beings. She was a humble servant of God, standing at the foot of the cross. Let's be like her and be like Jesus and be like Mother Teresa, using any authority, any influence, any material things, any gifts that we have for the good of glory of God and for the good of each other. Saint Mother Teresa, pray for us.